Tiff? Those dishes aren't gonna wash themselves, you know. What are you doing? What would Martha Stewart say?
Fuck Martha Stewart! Martha Stewart can kiss my shiny plastic butt!
Hello, and welcome to What Makes It Scary, a seasonal podcast unleashing the fear behind your favorite and not-so-favorite horror movies. I'm your host, Jody Henderson of Clever Girl Effects Studios, and with me, as always, is Alex Vincent.
Heidi-ho!
Of Mr. Ed Productions.
Not that
Alex Vincent.
So, okay, let's get into it. What are we talking about
Well,
today?
I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
Do you want to play a game of Hide the Soul?
Hide the soul. Yeah, I'd love to. I'm so excited for this episode. I've been looking forward to this. You know what? Since we started the show.
It's Child's Play, people.
Child's
That's what
Play.
we're talking about. Old Chuckster
Chucky.
himself.
Red hair. He's a doll. You know him. I won't say
You
I love
fear him.
You fear him.
If you're anything like me, you certainly fear him.
Definitely. So I'm very excited for this episode because this series I'm a huge fan of. I've always kind of liked Chucky, even though I hadn't seen many of the movies until recently, which we'll get into. But I've always kind of I've enjoyed the idea of it. Not the least reason of which being a sentence that makes sense is that there's an actor in the first two Child's Play movies. A child actor. Andy Barclay from the movies is played by
Alex Vincent.
So
cool. He then later comes back in the later movies
he shows up again as an adult, and it's very weird because I think most people are so familiar with those original movies, and he's just this kid.
I'm surprised how many people when you introduce yourself that they're like, oh, like from Child's Play.
He's not like a famous actor.
I don't even. We should have looked up what he's done, since I'm sure he's done other things, but probably none as noteworthy as Child's Play.
It's definitely his biggest work for sure.
Okay, so let's get into it. When did you first get into Chucky?
So I really have been racking my brain because I knew you were going to ask this. So I've been really trying to think. What I've come to is that I always knew about Chucky because that's just, you grow up. He's an icon.
Those things, like we've said, that you just know what they are.
But I did make a deliberate point to watch the first movie it was actually on Comcast On Demand. They have that blue bloopy menu. I found it on there, and I think I tried to find it just because I was interested in the movies, but I was drawn to it because I was like, this dude's name is Alex Vincent? That's freaky.
So that's what drew you to it.
I was going to watch it anyway, but that's what made me really interested in it. And I only watched the first one at that time. And then I had seen Bride of Chucky, parts of it, because when I watched the whole series, I distinctly remembered some parts of Bride of Chucky, even though I couldn't remember what happened in the movie, but especially for some reason the scene of Jennifer Tilly carrying the crate out of her motorhome. I've watched this scene for and somehow it's burned into my mind. I don't know why, but the scene where she gets the dude to help her move the crate.
The crate, with the dead body in it. Spoilers.
yeah. But none of the rest of the movie I remember seeing, but flashes of it. But that scene specifically. And then last year when they put out a trailer for the rebate.
The rebate. You needed a rebate after watching that movie.
I was excited for it. I wanted to see it in theaters, and so I deliberately watched the entire series. Most of those movies, it was my first time. I had a blast doing it.
Yeah, you saw that in theaters. Why didn't I go with you?
I don't know. I think you just weren't. You weren't
I just think I wasn't ready to put myself through it.
It was really. You were really scared. I think of it at the time, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And I watched every movie in order. I saw that movie in theaters. It was good.
Nice.
Well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, are you gonna ask me how
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'll ask you. What's your history?
I have two distinct memories of Chucky.
Okay. Let me know the first one and then the second one in chronological order.
Okay. My first one, honestly, And it really gives me PTSD thinking about it. I used to ride the bus, to school and home from school with this kid named Sean. He was in my grade.
Sean, shout out to Sean. Sean out.
Yeah, I wonder if he's still alive. He could be like one of those people that doesn't.
Sure.
I just got that feeling.
Yikes.
But for some reason, and this was like maybe 2nd, 3rd grade, maybe. And he had 2. They weren't very big. They were like, I don't know, maybe 5-6 inches. He had a Chucky doll and a Bride of Chucky doll.
Tiffany.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't know.
That's what she's called, Bride of Chucky.
Right.
Had 2 dolls and would scare the shit out of me with them on the bus.
Sean.
Whoever you are. Because it's the one where his face is all cut up, which is just fucking scary.
It's scary. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, so that was my first, and I was like, nope.
Okay.
Like, hard no.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Freak out. Was that your first time, like, seeing Chucky?
Again, you do know
he's
kind
a pop
of these
culture
things,
icon,
but like, yeah, I would say that's my first one.
Okay.
I would say that. My second one, if our listeners did their research and listened to all the Peeves and Q's episode, they've heard this story before, but every time, for as long as I can remember, if you walk into a Spencer's gift store.
Yeah. They have all those, like, novelty stuff.
Yeah, just crazy, crazy shit all the time.
Yeah.
And it's even worse during Halloween, but this isn't just a Halloween thing. Every time they have these, I quote unquote, life size, so doll size. Chucky dolls.
Ugh. And where?
And of course, well, you know what? They used to not be eye level. They used to be like up towards the top or maybe at the front of the store for Halloween and stuff like that. But now every goddamn time they're eye level and they move them constantly.
So you're never able to be
I never know where they are. So when I don't know why I have to go into a Spencer's Gifts like so often, but I do. Not for those reasons.
Okay,
people.
all right.
I know that's what you're thinking.
That is what I was thinking.
But I don't know. I hate it every time. Because I literally one time went in to buy a goddamn lanyard with Spider-Gwen on it for my birthday, and I turn around and it literally like almost hit me in the face, and I jumped back and was like,
I would have loved to have been there.
Yeah, it was awful. So those are my like 2 like Chucky memories.
Well, that sounds pretty traumatizing.
Yeah. I have, before all this, I had only seen Bride of Chucky starting from when he blows up the car. So I didn't even see the beginning.
That's like almost halfway, I want to say.
When he blows up the car and then they've kidnapped Katherine Heigl and that other guy and and take off.
Yeah, Katherine Heigl's in that movie.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, whatever. I'm not a huge fan of hers. So.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, so that has been our history of Child's Play. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. See you next week. We're going to be talking about, just kidding.
Our history of...
of other things. So let's talk about these movies.
Yeah.
There's 7?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And a reboot?
And a reboot.
Okay, 7 and a reboot.
Right.
6 seasons in a movie.
6 seasons in a movie.
So.
I want to start off by saying there's actually a lot of similarities between this series and the zombie episode that we did, because I don't know if you want it to come up organically, so we'll talk about it as it comes up. We'll get there.
Okay. The year 1988.
Good year.
My sister is born into the world. So 32 years ago.
Wow. Shout out to your sister.
Yeah, this movie came out.
Yeah.
Child's Play.
Mm-hmm. It's almost 40 years old.
No, it's not. It's 32. Don't say that.
In 8 years.
Yeah, in 8 years is a long time. Let's not push our age, okay? So this movie comes out.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a little movie. It takes off. I think it was a big hit. Essentially, it's about 90 minutes. That's a little
Is
joke.
it really only 90 minutes?
I don't know. I was just throwing out a number.
Just the amount of times that he comes back
Yeah.
That's what always drags out a movie.
It
for
feels
me.
very long. The final act is a long one.
Right.
So, essentially, you have your serial killer. His name is Charles Lee Ray. Charles, a.k.a., to his friends, Chucky. Which, I don't want to call you out, Jode, but you did not
I did
get
not
it
put
for a
those
while.
together. I was just like, oh, it's weird that he would pick that name. And then, like, 5 movies later, I was like, oh, Chucky. Yeah, Charles. Okay.
So he's on the run from the cops. He's ostensibly a serial killer, and he's not wearing a pendant around his neck. This is important because it comes up later. But he's chased by the cops. He ends up running into this toy store.
Sure it's not Tommy Wiseau?
Oh my God, this dude looks just like.
I literally thought it, like, I for sure thought it was, and I asked you, and you're just like, no, it's not
him. He looks remote. He doesn't sound like him.
No,
he sounds like a normal person with like kind of a gruff, mean person voice, which you hear a lot of throughout the series. Brad Dourif, great actor, great voice actor. He's like won awards.
He voiced all the Chuckies until the reboot?
Correct. He was always
That's
Chucky.
cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's on the run for the guy. He decides for some reason to run into a toy store, and he gets shot a couple of times. Good thing for him, he can practice. He practices voodoo.
Yeah.
So he has the ability to transfer his soul into. It's unclear exactly how this works, but in this case, he's able to transfer his soul into this doll, a good guy doll. Presumably, he could do this with other inanimate objects. Does it have to be human shaped? Does it have to be something that has like movable parts? Like, what if he did it to like a porcelain doll that didn't have any joints? Would he not be able to move? Would he still be sentient?
I don't
have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Anyway, he transfers his soul, but his body dies or whatever. Cut to. We meet our main character, Alex Vincent, Andy.
Probably like 6,
I think
5 years old.
Yeah, he's very
really
young.
Yeah.
You don't really make movies with like kids this young these days.
We don't make horror movies either with like kids in them.
You could just
try not to.
Yeah, you just put through kids. They used to put their kids through what?
Oh, one more time?
No, let's move on. I'm scared of the sentence.
Yes, they used to put kids through a lot.
Yeah. And he's living with his mom. She's a single mother, and they're making it work. They're not like the most well off, and so he's a fan of the good guy.
Like the good guy's like, what would you even compare it to?
I guess Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah,
are
that's the only thing I'm like. But Cabbage Patch is like never really talked.
Maybe not. Maybe like G.I. Joes. They're also not sentient, but I guess that's a little older. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like a.
There are dolls like
My
that,
Buddy,
though.
I guess, is like the other thing that you could compare. It's a My Buddy doll.
Well, that makes sense because in the reboot, he's called a buddy doll.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that yet. We're talking about the first one, the original first one.
Okay.
Get it through your head,
yes,
Jody.
I got it.
So he wants this doll, but she's like, that's really expensive. So
it's like $80 in 80s money,
which would be like
$300.
Sure. And yeah, so she goes to work. She works like
at a mall.
Yeah. And she has this friend. Random friend. Maggie, I think her name is.
Yeah.
They're friends, whatever. Their boss is a creep. And then she ends up like going out and like, Maggie directs her to this guy who's like a, I don't know.
Hobo.
Yeah, he's homeless. And he has one of these dolls.
Yeah, he like hawked one or
right.
whatever.
It's like it's not a one in circulation. It's like one of the rejects, you know?
Right.
We come to find out that it's because this is the one that...
No, he just found this one in the burned down toy store.
Right, but, I mean, this is the one that Charles Lee Ray put his soul into.
Yes, it is.
So what? Did somebody package it back up? Oh, did Chucky, did he put it back in the box?
Probably.
That's weird to think of.
Yeah.
He repackaged it.
It was probably covered in blood.
Yeah,
maybe somebody cleaned it off.
Well, that's probably why it was like rejected. Somebody probably threw it away.
Who knows? Anyway,
she buys it.
Andy gets the doll.
He gets the doll. Things are going okay for a while, but then like you notice the doll's like looking around at stuff, like
watching the TV.
Yeah, like the TV's on and it's like turning his head. Don't like that.
Yeah.
Don't like that one bit. Yada yada yada. Some stuff happens.
Well, the friend is babysitting.
Right. Then one night the friend Maggie is babysitting, and the scariest.
No, the
shot
scariest.
For you,
the entire movie.
What
She's
happens?
just sitting there, and all of a sudden, just in the background, you just see It just like runs by.
A Chucky colored
That's
figure.
so terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate things that skitter. Like,
Right.
oh.
It's very scampery.
I hate it. I hate it so much. It's the worst thing. Okay, anyway.
You okay?
Yeah, he kills her.
He kills her. He
throws her out the window.
Right. We don't see him do it
No,
specifically,
no, we
but you
don't.
see like flashes. It's very clearly not Andy, even though like when the mom gets home, there's like suspicion that it's Andy.
Yeah.
Even though
because he has like pajamas that have like the same marking as like as Chucky.
Right. But Andy finds out that like Chucky has flour on his shoes, which was like put on the floor. Yada yada, some more stuff happens. Chucky ends up so they go to school together. Andy takes Chucky to school with him. And then they end up sneaking out and going to like his old partner who left him for dead or whatever, even though he got shot and bled out to death. And he left him, right?
He left,
at the beginning of the movie.
He was like he was driving the getaway car.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't leave me, God, no." He turns into Bill Cosby.
Rudy.
Rudy, you left me to bleed out and die.
Good.
Yikes. Anyway, so he like lights a gas stove and then somebody shoots a gun and he blows up. Cool. And then so Andy's out, right? He's out in this like junkyard.
Yeah, in like Chicago.
Right. And yeah, by himself. This explosion goes off and like, what did Andy like see it? Did he hear it?
How does Chucky get back to him? I don't know.
Eventually he ends up at the police station. Was this
something?
Is this
Yeah,
the same
yeah. The
time?
cops probably pick him up.
Probably because hey, there was an explosion. Kid, are you okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so there's an interrogation in the police, whatever. He's clear because he's, a child.
And with a doll.
With a doll, yeah. Ends up going home, and then there's like a scene late at night. The dust is kind of settled a little bit, and the kid is like convinced that, this doll is
the one that's telling
doing
him to
these things, right? And he tells his mom, and of course nobody believes him. But the mom's like, this doll's a little weird. I don't like the looks of what's going on here. She picks it up. This scene is one of the most, I think, like effective sequences in the whole like franchise. I love this scene so much because she like picks it up and she's like, okay, and it's talking and she's like, all right, this thing's because it says phrases like, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play?"
Heidi ho.
Heidi ho. And she turns it around and like opens the battery pack and there's no battery, or the batteries fall out rather.
Yeah.
And then she opens it up and sees there's no batteries in it. And she's like, huh? And then the thing whips its head around, starts like talking again at her, and she like screams and drops it and it starts rolling around. I think she picks it up again and goes to throw it in the fire.
Yeah, she goes to throw it and he's like, "You stupid bitch."
Yeah.
And bites her on the arm.
This is where he like goes full like
you're like, okay, yeah, this is
like a haunted doll that's
yeah.
alive and moving around. So there's like a fight scene. Chucky ends up getting away and like running out. I love to think. So he like goes down the elevator, and I love the idea of him just like sitting there where and he's like reaching up trying to hit the door open button.
Just an elevator music going on.
Yeah. Anyway, so he ends up going to his
friend John's house.
Right.
Who is like the master of voodoo.
Yeah, he's the guy who taught him voodoo and everything. And so, little interstitial here, voodoo is like a real religion that people practice.
Right.
And I think it's often used.
I think a lot of people,
have this association that it's some black magic evil thing. And that's a little problematic. Like, we can agree that like the idea that voodoo is this evil magic that can do all this stuff, it's a little weird. But brief tie into the zombies episode, Ken Foray in Dawn of the Dead suggested that like used the voodoo thing as a "there's no more room in hell" bit. So voodoo's maybe created the zombies in the zombie movies?
Yes, because they did do rituals where they would, put somebody into a trance, bury them, and then they would wake.
This was like
a very like vegetative state.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This was a real practice.
Absolutely.
So tie in there.
Cool.
Also, we talked in Dawn of the Dead about the idea of consumerism, and Chucky could be read as like that because it's a product that's
a toy,
bought.
Yeah.
And the act of buying the product is what brings the evil into the house. I'm not going to talk too much about that because it's just a thing. Anyway, eventually the detective, Chris Sarandon, who's in The Princess Bride, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Prince Humperdinck, he's brought on board, and so they're all working together to stop Chucky.
So Chucky visits John, and John tells him, hey, you're going to be stuck in that body, and the only way that you can get out of it is to, do a transfer to the first person that you told
your full name to, which is such an
so
arbitrary.
dumb.
It's so like, okay, who created these rules? How does this happen?
Voodoo master.
I guess it's so weird that like, hey, you said your name, like hit what? How does this work? Like the sound waves of your name fell on his ears and now it's locked. That has to be the one.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. So he has to transfer his soul
it's
into
like that True
Andy.
Love's first kiss.
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot like that.
Whatever.
Why?
So so it has to be Andy.
It has to be Andy. It can't be anybody else. So he's like focused on this kid, which explains why he's like fixated on him so much. And he doesn't want to be a doll. He's turning like more and more human. He's like bleeding when he gets wounded and everything. And he ends up killing this voodoo guy, but not before the cops get there and they find out that he has to kill the har.
The har.
As he
kill
says.
him through the har.
Shoot him through the har.
Heart.
Yes, the heart.
And
so they're like, all right, cool, we'll just go ahead and do that then. But no big deal. We'll just kill him. What's the big deal?
Anyway, Chucky goes back because he's got to get Andy.
He's got to get Andy, so he shows up.
Andy tried very lazily to set up this like Home Alone
yeah,
trap.
Didn't work out so well for him. Eventually there's this whole fight scene. They end up, okay, so first they light him on fire. They like set him, they put him in the thing and he says, "This is the end, friend."
This is the end, friend. It's so cute.
He's very cute. Lights him on fire and then he, bursts out and he's like,
he's like running around the apartment on fire.
This is cool.
Dangerous.
Yeah. And then he like disappears and he gets up and he's like stalking him. This is another one of my favorite scenes.
He's
coming at him with that
real scary.
That knife. This knife, like you see it a few times throughout the series, and it's like almost got a hot dog it's like red with yellow like mustard lines on it.
Okay.
And it looks like a toy knife, but it isn't. I don't know why it looks so cartoonish and childish.
I have no idea.
Doesn't matter.
That's funny.
Anyway, they end up like hacking him to pieces, shooting him a bunch of times. He's still alive. He's still going after. Eventually, they shoot him through the heart, and he dies fully. And there's, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play?"
And then just his melted, gross toy face.
Yeah.
It's scary. That's also scary.
And then they ride off into the sunset. Child's Play over. Horror icon established. Chucky is there to stay.
80s parents lost their minds.
Oh yeah. This is scary.
That there could be, that there was a killer toy.
I wonder, I think most of it was like, probably, I would assume, like, we don't want our kids thinking that like,
their toys are going to come alive.
Which is what kids did think after this.
Right. Well, and you know what? It goes through so many renditions.
Yeah.
I mean, our generation watched Toy Story.
Yeah.
And like,
which is like nice toys, but still creepy to think about.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's really scary.
Okay, so Child's Play 2. This
came out in 1990, so 2 years later.
2 years later. Essentially, Andy has been put into the foster system. He's not allowed to be...
Because his mom has gone insane.
Right.
And the cops won't believe her that the toy came to life and killed all these people and whatever.
Meanwhile, the company, the good guy company, they're like, well, we want to salvage our image, so the best way to do this would be to take the skeletal structure...
Yeah, the endoskeleton of the toy.
But the good guy doll, and like fix it up, repurpose it so it can be like a real toy again. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Good idea, yeah. It's alive. It's still alive. It's still haunted. It's back. Chucky's back, so he's not dead anymore, I guess. Even though they shot him through the har, and whatever voodoo magic, like, he is dead. But
unless
no,
he gets risen.
I guess, unless a toy company cleans him up, repackages him. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, he's alive again. He kills the guy driving him, and he tries to find Andy. He's successful. Andy's living
in a new foster family.
Yep. Kyle
is his foster sister.
Foster sister. Named Kyle. Weird, but whatever.
They have not a my buddy, a good guy doll.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Named Tommy.
Yeah, named Tommy, who was named after, we didn't mention this in the first one.
Right. The director.
Tom Holland.
Not that Tom Holland.
Not that Tom Holland. Directed the first movie.
Yeah.
Executive produced by Don Mancini.
He wrote the first one. And co-wrote. And he basically ran this series from this point.
Yeah.
It was his idea. He was the one who came up with it.
And I like that. I like when somebody sticks with it.
Yeah, because it really feels like their thing.
So I really like that Don Mancini did. But Tom Holland directed this first movie. He did not direct the second one.
Right.
So they named...
There were creative differences.
Yeah, they named the good guy doll Tommy that lives in the house with the Foster family. And then Chucky comes in and kills it.
Yeah, Chucky shows up and like knocks him out. He has this funny scene where he like knocks it out.
My name's Tommy. What's your name? And Chucky's just like, shut the fuck up.
Chucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he buries him in the backyard.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Wild.
So
wild.
he takes the place of Tommy. Andy is trying to prove that he's not scared, so he's like hanging out with this doll, which unbeknownst to him is Chucky.
Yeah, so the stepdad hates pretty much Andy.
Right.
He's really rude to him.
Because he's a weird kid, but like don't treat kids like this. What did people not understand back in like olden times?
Yeah, don't have a house that's full of all breakable, really rich stuff if you're gonna have like kids running around.
Yeah, kids and foster kids especially, yeah. Anyway, so he's like coming. There's a scene where I think
Andy's like stalking the basement, thinking Chucky's down there.
Yeah, he brings a meat carver, like an electric meat carver down, and it's like tearing into like the clothes in the washing machine.
And so Phil, the stepdad, he like trips down the stairs and like hangs over the banister and whatever.
Well, because Chucky sticks like an umbrella out and like
trips him or hits him in the back of the ankle, like slices him, something like that. And I love it. This is the best line of the whole movie. He's like hanging over the banister and Chucky looks right at him and he's just like, how's it hanging, Phil?
Yeah.
It's like so sinister.
It's the most casual, sinister like line delivery ever. Like, how's it hanging, Phil? It's so funny to me. It makes me laugh.
Kills him.
Yeah, he falls, breaks his neck, whatever.
Kills the mom, leaves her to like lying on the sewing machine.
She's like sewing machining,
so it's like, and then so Kyle discovers her. They finally get that, like, oh yeah, Chucky is alive, and he stole Andy to get his soul into him.
There's a scene where he kills the school teacher. It's not important to the plot, but it's an iconic scene where he's like stalking out. He's got this ruler.
Yeah.
Kills the teacher, I guess. Yeah. And the social worker who like put him in the foster system.
Yeah,
Grace,
on the Xerox machine.
By the way, you're not going to care about this, but somebody will. Laura Palmer's mother in Twin Peaks, Sarah Palmer.
Okay.
Cool. There you go.
Is that Laura Dern's character?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is she in Twin Peaks?
Yes, season 3. Okay, so
Just checking.
Eventually, they end up running into one of the toy stores, like the good guy stores.
The warehouse where they're being made.
This is an awesome sequence where there's like a maze of these good guy boxes. I don't think there would be this many.
I don't think they would, put them up that way.
Right.
I don't
It's cool, so I don't care, but it's not real.
So, Kyle and Andy are, like, running up this, like, Discovery Zone, like,
it's great.
Tunnel thing.
They should make a theme park out of this.
They should.
That'd be cool.
And Chucky's at the bottom of it, and he, like, goes to stab. He gets his arm ripped off at one point. Yeah. He pulls an ash and, like, sticks the knife where his arm was and starts slashing people and whatever. And...
It's great. There's a technician who gets, like, his doll's eyes implanted.
Oh, yeah, because it's, like, on the conveyor belt.
Because his favorite movie is Jaws, and he wanted to be like a doll's eyes.
I always thought it was that he said like a dog's eyes.
I don't think so.
No, it's dog. It is. But for the longest time, I thought it was dog.
That's funny.
That's just my hearing is like must be really terrible.
Right. So
or people just don't know how to enunciate when they're talking.
That's probably right. That guy was like a massive drunk, so it makes sense.
Yeah. And he really was. My mom tells me that every time we watch Jaws, that like that guy was an asshole to work with. Like he was a real jerk.
This is not the Jaws episode.
Yeah, I know. We will have one day.
Spoilers.
I love Jaws.
Yes. So they end up killing Chucky in this one.
Explodes.
Well, first they like just
melt him.
pour all this like molten plastic on him.
Yeah.
He's still kicking. So Kyle, because she's a badass, remember this, she like sticks an air hose into his mouth and he like inflates and then blows up. How this... I think they've completely abandoned the horror aspect of it because, like, what the hell? How does this kill him? Whatever. He explodes. He's dead. Fine. They leave. Cool. That's movie 2. Movie 3 sucks.
Not like 9 months later, 1991.
Yeah, this movie came out rapidly.
Too fast.
Yeah.
We jump 8 years into the future.
Even though it was like the fastest release between movies, but the biggest jump between movies in the sequence, which is funny.
This is the intro that I always remembered Chucky, like, being.
Me too.
Yeah,
they must have, like, showed
or
this.
talked about it a lot.
Because they, like, pick up the huge, like, just at this point, solidified mass of plastic and drag it over a vat of other plastic. Okay.
It's got blood dripping in it.
This is, all right, neat, cool, Chucky's back,
This
awesome.
is like Ginger Dead Man,
but
like
yeah,
theories.
it's very much just like
Because it like, gets electrified, like
Yeah.
electrocuted, and like all this other crap.
Right. But like, okay, so they put some blood sprinkles into this vat of acid and they make Chucky dolls from it. But do they just make one Chucky doll from this huge vat of acid? Because there's only one Chucky doll that's alive.
We only have one soul.
I guess.
Until Cult of Chucky.
Yeah, spoilers.
So.
But I believe I remember hearing that this was Don Mancini's idea, was that this would create a bunch of Chuckies, but
and
they just couldn't do it because of the budget.
That makes sense.
Which is a shame, but hey, Cult of Chucky happened. So eventually, Andy has grown up. This movie is terrible for a number of reasons.
Yeah, he's at the Kent Military Academy.
One of the reasons this movie's bad is because Alex Vincent is no longer a factor.
Yes.
It is a new person. I don't know. This actor, he's fine, but he's no Alex Vincent.
He's got hair like Steve Harrington.
He does. He has like long Steve Harrington hair.
But then he gets it cut off because he's in military school.
He's in the military school. This movie's boring. There's a bunch of military shenanigans.
There's a
new kid
boy,
named Tyler who... Chucky knows that since
where Andy is, yeah.
But
it doesn't have to. Oh, because he's a new doll.
I guess
it's whoever he chooses to tell.
Right. He specifically chooses Tyler to be. Which
is always my question. Why does he choose a child? I don't know. I think they might have said it has to be the same size.
I assume it's because of all of the future life, because you want to be somebody young.
I guess, but my theory is always why would you ever once you've been an adult, why would you ever go regress to where you can't have
And my thing is this guy who's a serial killer from the 80s, so not the nicest dude. I don't believe that he would choose to be a black person.
I know you said that. I was like, you're right.
Which
Probably not.
Tyler is black, and
cute little kid.
He's very cute. So anyway, there's this whole thing where he's trying to. This is very funny, unintentionally, how he keeps tricking Tyler into being let's play hide the soul, and Tyler, who doesn't know he's evil, is
I'm so tired of this game.
Sure. Well, at first he's all for it, so he's laying on the ground, and Chucky's got his hand on his head, and is doing his chant. I
do lay them Bella.
Yeah. and Tyler's just this is a weird game, but he's still going along with it. It's very funny. But he keeps getting stopped by Andy. Eventually, there's this huge showdown. It culminates. I'm just skipping over a lot of stuff because there's nothing really to talk about.
Well, there's the accidental paintball game.
Yeah, there's a paintball game.
Where Chucky takes the paintball bullets out of the gun and puts real bullets in it.
Paintball guns do not work like that.
That would not work that way. But it makes for such an emotional kill because these are all kids.
Right, and they're just shooting paintballs at each other, but one kid accidentally shoots somebody else.
Right.
And it's the main bad guy, so you don't feel too bad, but it's still just ugh. Yeah. Accidental murder like that always kind of...
especially to children.
Right. It's like a gut punch.
Anyway, it ends at a carnival.
Yeah, there's this pop-up carnival. It's got a theme park in it, which I don't know how that's possible, but there's this big scythe that cuts off his face, and then they're chasing him up this cliff, and he falls into this giant rotating fan.
Gets
eviscerated. He's torn into 1 billion pieces. He's never coming back from that. Until
7 years later.
Yeah, so that movie's over. They win. Hooray.
Yep. 7 years later, we get
Bride of Chucky. Bride of Chucky. Living Dead Girl. That's the song that starts
from...
Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie,
who we talked about Halloween 2 episodes ago last year.
Right, last season. I like this one.
I like this one too. You know why I like this one? This movie has Jennifer Tilly in it.
Oh,
Jennifer Tilly is a blessing.
I really like Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, she's
I've always
so
liked
good.
her. Her voice, I love it.
First Jennifer Tilly movie you ever saw. Again.
Liar, Liar.
Yes, Liar, Liar. Then this one. That might be it.
No, there's a Haunted Mansion. She's in that.
Oh,
she does voice acting work and other
she's
stuff that
sprinkled
I've seen.
in. She's
I really like her.
Yeah, she's rarely ever the main. Sorry.
I used to get her confused with Renee Zellweger.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Me too.
Because they do look very similar. Now Renee Zellweger got so much work done that she doesn't even look like Renee Zellweger anymore.
Right.
But yeah, and so I always am oh, that's her, but she doesn't sound the same. She doesn't have just that incredibly sexy voice.
Yeah. She's she has a doll's voice, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
Before I knew who Jennifer Tilly wasn't appreciated her.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought, like, why wasn't this just Renee Zellweger? Like, she's already famous. Just put her in the movie. But now I love now I love Jennifer Tilly so much that I want her to be in everything.
It starts off at a police department.
It does. There's
Michael Myers mask.
Yep, there's a Michael Myers
Jason's
mask.
Freddy's
gloves. There's a
And-
chainsaw.
Yeah, I think there's a chainsaw.
Yeah, there's a bunch of fun stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, just this first scene
And
references.
it's all like confiscated evidence. And so that's cool. That like brings us into the universe of like all of these things
Horror
happen.
movies.
Not
Tell me
true.
again what year this movie came out?
1998.
2 years before this, Scream came out.
Yes, this
And you can definitely
takes
tell.
immense,
It's funny, it's
inspiration from
meta.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have John Ritter.
John Ritter's in it. Yes. John Ritter, Katherine Heigl, Jennifer Tilly.
Tilly.
This movie's got a star-studded cast.
Yes. So we go back to the police department
Right.
and Chucky's remains are being like transferred.
Yeah, Detective Bailey, It's a Wonderful Life
George
reference.
Bailey?
Yeah. George Bailey?
Probably not.
Um,
Is like bringing him to meet somebody who's going to pay him to
he's on the phone
Yeah,
and she's like, hey, I hope you have my money.
and don't get curious and look in that bag or whatever he
And
does.
he keeps doing it. He keeps trying to look at the bag, and she's like, hey, stop.
Yeah.
At one point, he almost crashes, which I always thought meant that, like, she was in one of those cars, like, so because she immediately starts laughing, like, ha ha ha, I told you not to get curious or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought that she was, like, in the other truck,
Oh,
like,
who
swinging at him.
knows?
But no.
Anyway, he gets off to the drop-off place, and she comes, slits his throat
Yeah.
open,
Kills Detective
kills
Bailey.
him, pulls out Chucky's, like, serrated body
Yeah.
from the fan from the previous movie, and is like, hello, Dolly.
So you know you're in for a good time with this
Yeah.
movie. It's starting off strong.
But then we go to back to John Ritter.
No, first we get the Rob Zombie song. Let's listen to it. I'm hearing it now in my head.
Okay.
Oh, it's good. I've been listening to it on repeat
Anyway,
ever since we
get
saw it.
John Ritter.
Yes. He's
John Ritter should never be in a horror movie because he's such a joy to watch.
He's always... I mean, Jennifer Tilly's in this movie,
Yeah.
so it's hard to say, but he's usually, like, the best thing
Yeah.
in a movie that he's in.
Yeah.
Like, watching the It miniseries, I'm always just like,
Oh, he's
everyone
fabulous.
else, get out of
Yeah.
there. John Ritter. Put him in the,
Yeah.
in the frame.
You ever seen, my God, what is that movie called? I want to say Bad Kid. It's not, though. It's like Problem Child.
Problem Child.
Have you ever seen Problem Child?
No.
That's got John Ritter in it. That is a good movie.
Is it a good John Ritter movie?
Yes,
Good,
it is.
good.
It absolutely is. Anyway.
But he also kind of plays like a dick in this movie.
Yeah, he's like a sheriff.
And I didn't get that because, like, you like John Ritter so much that when he shows
it just
up,
doesn't work.
yeah, because he's supposed to be unlikable, and spoilers, he ends up dying, and you're supposed to be like, good, but it's John Ritter, so
Yeah,
you're
so you're
like,
like,
aw,
aw.
I wanted him to be in more of this movie.
He's Katherine Heigl's like uncle or something.
Yeah.
Her parents died.
It's a Harry Potter situation.
Yeah, she has to
has
stay-
magic powers.
Yeah. Does she?
Does she?
No, she doesn't. And she's like trying to pull this scheme of like going out with this really nice guy, but just
Yeah.
kidding because like she's actually going out with like this
The bad boy.
bad
Even though he's
trailer
not
park
He's
guy.
not really a bad boy.
I think it's just because he's like from a trailer
I guess.
park.
He's
and
not-
like
he's
back
not
in the
affluent.
and back in the 90s, like that really like said a lot about you.
Yeah.
People who live in trailer parks, like you're not where you're from. Living in a trailer park is perfectly fine.
Right, right,
As
right.
long as your shit's clean,
Yeah.
like clean to where like you can keep it clean. Like
Yeah,
get
yeah,
your
yeah.
shit together.
That's true.
And that's for everybody, not just people who live in trailer parks. Like clean your fucking house.
Right.
Nobody wants to see your fucking shit.
That's true.
Anyway,
Chucky movies. These
Yeah.
two characters, the Katherine Heigl
they're
and her
very
boyfriend,
empty, yeah.
they're nothing as characters. Like
you told
literally-
that I was like, oh, Katherine Heigl's in this, and you're like, she is nothing in this.
Yeah, she is
movie.
not a character. I want you to describe their characters to me in any way.
They are young teens.
Okay. Cool.
There, I did it.
Great. There's like no personality.
So John Ritter's character is constantly like catching these two together and like keeping them apart and all this.
yeah,
other
there's
good
like a
stuff.
forbidden love that nobody cares about.
Meanwhile, we go back to the same trailer park that the
Mhm.
boyfriend's from. His next door neighbor is Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer Tilly!
Tiffany Valentine.
Tiffany Valentine. Do we know her last name in this movie? Because we
no,
definitely
I
hear
don't
it
think
later.
we do.
Okay.
Anyway, she puts Chucky's macerated body.
Back together.
Yeah,
Stitches
sews
it up.
it. Oh,
this is
so
where
this
we
is-
get...
Yeah, this is where we got that iconic look of Chucky.
Yes, he's like all stitched up. He's got one eye that's like just effed.
Oh, and
that
she
the right
does
spine?
the seance, "Are dule dembella."
Yeah. It sounds so much funnier coming from her because she's like, give me the power I beg of you. Well, why didn't that work?
Yeah, she has like all these doll parts. And then we get Alexis. Oh, I feel really
damn it. Oh, Arquette. Alexis Arquette. Yeah.
They come and, you know, is trying to date Jennifer Tilly, like Tiffany.
Right. She's so clearly like uninvolved in this relationship. She's like, yeah, whatever.
And, you know, they get in this really awkward scene where like Tiffany handcuffs this character to Damien, I think is the character's name.
Damien.
Yeah. Handcuffs him to the bed.
Right.
And like puts Chucky
on top of him and then does this striptease.
Yeah, and it's just like, I used to date Charles Lee Ray and
before he
died and anybody who ever looked at me would die too, and like Chucky comes to life, kills Damien, and boom, like, you know, Tiffany's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you, I can't wait to get married, because she found this ring that
apparently, like, she thought it was an engagement ring, but it was just like, hey, I stole it. It's worth a lot of money. I'm surprised you didn't sell that.
She's pissed. She locks him away in this, like, baby crate thing.
Yeah.
She buys this, like, bride doll and is like, here, you can marry this thing. I hate you.
She's, like, really demeaning to him, so this makes him angry, so he breaks out of the cage using that ring. It's symbolic.
Yeah. And she's, like, taking a bath and watching Bride of Frankenstein.
Which is really funny. This is another scene that I remember. I remember like just shots of it from, again, I don't think I saw this movie, but I've definitely seen parts of it. And this scene is another one that I remember.
And so Chucky runs in, pushes the TV that she's watching into the bathtub, and she dies. And he transfers her soul. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't he just be doing that to all types of people?
Yeah, everyone. Just be like, I have an army of doll friends now.
Anyway, into the bride doll.
Yes. And now she's like, I'm pissed.
Yeah, and I'm fucking ugly. Fucking ugly. This is the ugliest doll I've ever seen.
Is it? I think it's nice.
No.
I think it's
nice
actually.
When she like does the makeover and makes it blonde and all that stuff. But even still, her face is like so smushed for like having a doll face.
I'm into it.
Anyway, long story short, they kidnap, they somehow kidnap these two.
Right. Well, what happens is they need to get to New Jersey where the first movie takes place because they need that pendant, which was not on his hanging from his neck in the first movie. Now it was.
To transfer into these younger bodies.
Right. So they hire these two to like take them across the country as if they're mailing these inanimate dolls, but then they like reveal themselves and they're holding them at gunpoint.
And a couple of murders happen, and now the police are thinking it's these two, like Katherine Heigl's character and her boyfriend, now husband, they get married. They actually get married. That's really scary.
Why is it scary? That's the scariest thing in this movie.
Because I think she's under 18, and you have to have, like, legal... I mean, not for this story, but, like, you would have to have, like, legality. Like, someone would have to give permission for you to get married before you're 18.
Right.
Here in America.
Anyway.
So, yeah. They go to this, like, really, Vegas-y hotel.
Yeah, even though it's in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, and toy sex happens,
Yeah, the toys have
Chucky
sex.
Chucky and Tiffany, they get married,
Yeah.
Weird.
Right. Anyway, they end up back on the road. Everyone's after them. The cops are after them. They're on the run.
Yep.
Eventually, there's like this whole scene where they like crash the RV that they're taking, and
they get to the cemetery.
Everyone's held at gunpoint. There's a hostage scene, like a swap, and then Chucky like swings the knife at the boyfriend or the husband dude, and then immediately gets thrown back at him, and there's like no repercussions.
Weird. Yeah, that's the only like part where I'm just like, okay,
why did that happen?
Right.
Anyway, they end up getting the thing, but
Tiffany dies. The bride doll dies.
They end up turning on each other. That's the thing. It's like they're constantly trying to get these two to turn on each other. They end up fighting. Yeah, Tiffany is killed and like thrown aside, and then Chucky falls down on the thing, but he like doesn't have the pendant or something. I don't know.
Katherine Heigl shoots him, kills him.
Yay.
And then, like, our post-credits scene almost is where the cops are, like, coming to look at Tiffany's body, and she just, like, wakes up and starts screaming and writhing and, like, all this other stuff, gives birth
to
a demon plastic baby.
Yep, she has a baby. It's been 12 hours since the sex scene happened. The next movie does, because the next movie is the best in the series.
Oh my God. Okay.
They clarify that voodoo pregnancies
are fast.
Very fast. So,
which is the seed of Chucky.
Seed of Chucky. So, how long after?
2004.
Okay. So, like 4 years?
6 years.
6 years. I like this movie a lot, even though I know that it's bad.
It should have a cult following how bad it is.
Yes. I literally could not stop laughing watching this movie. Sometimes it seems you weren't supposed to laugh at, sometimes because you were. Like, this movie is just so, like, this was the most I've ever been like, what the hell am I looking at?
What am I watching?
Yeah, what am I watching that I've ever been in a movie? Essentially, it's this whole thing of the child is trying to find his parents.
The doll child.
The doll child. They've been recreated for a movie that they're making based on the Chucky murders.
Right.
And he ends up bringing them back to life. And then there's this whole thing where they're, again, trying to find... Oh, right! They're trying to find new bodies for them to transfer into. Here's the thing!
Yeah.
Jennifer Tilly is in the movie again.
As
Jennifer Tilly! She plays herself. So, in this universe, there is Jennifer Tilly, the actress, who is in a lot of movies, and Tiffany Valentine, who looks and sounds exactly like Jennifer Tilly, who died and got her soul transferred into the doll. And now that doll is after the actor Jennifer Tilly to take over her body. She's playing herself. It is so weird. I love this movie. They're successful, I guess. It's very confusing because, like...
Well, they don't transfer into her body. They, the child...
Right.
Who doesn't necessarily have a specific gender, so gets to choose.
They're like a gender dysphoric.
Yeah. They, come into this life and they're like a ventriloquist act. It's like his name's like Shithead.
Yeah.
Or Shitface.
Right, Shitface.
Shitface.
Yeah. It's very funny. Yeah.
And goes in is finding his parents. Mm-hmm. They realize that that's his son because of the Made in Japan stamp that's on their arms.
Which, that was never in the original Chucky doll, but this one must be a recreation or something. But he just... And so this movie kind of introduces the idea that, like, you can just transfer anyone's soul into any doll because, like, the kid does it to these two. Clearly, like, these two dolls have nothing to do with the original. They're not... They're basically animatronics. They have like poles stuck into them and everything. But he's able to just take their souls out of the hell or wherever they are and put them into these dolls.
And so they're like, okay, we have this kid now. We should stop killing. Mm-hmm. Tiffany is like, oh, this is our daughter, Glenda. And Chucky's like, no, this is our son, Glenn. And they basically kind of leave it up to the child to decide.
Very quickly, you and I are
voiced by...
Oh, Billy Boyd.
Billy Boyd was one of my super favorites.
Right. The Hobbit, not the one who was in Lost.
It's Pippin.
Pippin, right. You and I are a big fan of the podcast, The Comedy Button. And on that show, there's a guy, Ryan, who's often kind of like attributed the way that this Glenda character is.
Really?
Kind of, not specifically, but the idea is like, oh, I'm just a little boy who's like frightful of the world and I don't want my parents to be mad and fight each other. And so like that's the only lens I could watch this movie through, was imagining that like...
This was Ryan Scott.
Right, or like this was the movie they were referencing that whole time. Gotcha. And so that's probably what made it more funny to me, because I was just imagining the show.
It's got ridiculous points to it. So they get to Jennifer Tilly. And she's sleeping with the guy who's casting the next movie and all this other
Redman, who's another real celebrity. He's like a rapper.
So Chucky does his thing and...
He jerks off to a cop. All right, let's just get it out of the way. They use a turkey baster.
And put it into Jennifer Tilly while she's knocked out.
This is very problematic. Like, this is non-consensual. This is gross. Like, I don't like this at all. Everything about the movie I like,
12 hours later, she's huge with pregnancy.
Right. She ends up giving birth. That's later in the movie, but like, I guess they're trying to... So they want to use Redman's body for Chucky to inhabit. But he just ends up killing him because he cannot get over his insatiable desire to kill people. Yeah. And
Tiffany's like I'm trying not to kill people. Right. This is really big arc for all these characters in this movie.
And there's a subplot where like that her driver, her cabbie, is in love with her, and so they're like, well, we can get him in here and we can transfer Chucky's soul into him instead. But they end up killing him because they're whatever. But then Chucky... I like this turn for the character because, like, the whole time he's just been, how do I transfer my soul back into a living person? But in this movie, he's finally like, I'm Chucky, the killer doll.
Yeah.
Why do I want to become a human again? That sucks. I want to be a doll forever.
Tiffany's like, screw that.
Right.
I want to be a real person.
Yeah, so they fight. There's more fighting that happens. I guess they do end up transferring, because, like, she does transfer her soul into Tiffany.
Yes.
And also... Maybe
the Jennifer Tilly.
Right, sorry. Yeah. Tiffany transfers her soul into Jennifer Tilly, the character actor. And then there's like a weird... the ending doesn't make sense.
She has like twins.
Right, she has twins.
Jennifer Tilly has twins.
Yeah, a boy and a girl. And so Glenn/Glenda can choose, I guess.
He chooses the boy.
Does he? I don't remember the scene where...
because then the girl is like crazy and like all this other stuff. And then the movie just kind of like ends. Yeah, there's like a weird, not after credit scene, but like that, where it's revealed that Tiffany did transfer her soul into Jennifer Tilly. And one of the children is... the
housekeeper? I think so.
Something.
But it's a very weird ending that doesn't really matter, except for the fact that Tiffany is now in Jennifer Tilly's body. That's the important thing.
Yep.
The actor, like, in this world, the famous actor, Jennifer Tilly.
And I love that. I love that they put their names like on the line for this shit.
Yeah.
Her and Heather Logenkamp. Like,
for Wes Craven's
just like
new
this.
naming.
They're just like, let's just do it.
Yeah, I'll be a version of myself that's not like real, but... okay, so that movie's over.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. Again, it should have a cult following of just how ridiculous
People should love
is.
this movie more.
Now we're going to jump to 2013 for The Curse of Chucky.
This movie...
We kind of have like a whole... it's not even a reboot. It's not a remaster. It's just like just...
reset almost of the tone.
It's just... Yeah, the entire tone. It's less campy, more serious, very scary. Like,
yeah, it's more in the style of the like first two, where it's just kind of a slow and steady like suspense movie. Yes. Because... there's this woman, Nika, she's in a wheelchair, and her mother is there. They're living together in this house, but then they end up getting shipped this doll, this Chucky doll, which has a new design. It's more like childlike.
It's got like longer hair. I don't really like the look of this one.
Don't you?
But
I kind of do.
I don't, but it doesn't matter.
Right. The mother ends up dying. She's like pushed off of the stairs or whatever.
Something.
And it makes this entire family like congregate to the house for like not a funeral, but like just a gathering. And slowly people just start dying one by one, and people don't know who's doing it. We do. We like even see like tiny little hands like put poison in the food.
In the chili,
yeah.
Which kills the pastor.
Yeah, and that doesn't kill him.
Oh yeah.
He gets sick and goes home and crashes his car, and his head gets chopped off. It's wild. This movie is really, really good, but it's got some silly parts to it.
At one point, they like rip Chucky's face off, and it shows like the scarred face underneath it from the previous movie, which I think that's really cool. This movie does a really good job of like tying all of those kind of loose ends from all of this story together.
Yeah,
this and then Cult of Chucky do a really good job at that.
I agree, because you're questioning. You, as the people who have seen all the movies, are questioning, how did Chucky get here? Is this the same one? Where's the scars?
Tiffany?
Where's Tiffany? Yeah. It's the same Chucky doll. He's got his face is covered up, but they clear it up. He kills basically everybody except for Nika. Reveals that like the reason she's in a wheelchair is because he knew
Charles Lee Ray.
Charles Lee Ray, before he died, knew her mother when she was pregnant with Nika, and ended up like stabbing her. They, like killed her father, their father, the dad in the family, and then stabbed the baby in the womb.
Something like
Didn't kill it, but like messed up the spine.
That's why
spine.
That's why
she's in a wheelchair. So it's like, you did this to me. But then he ran off, and that was like the scene
night
where
that he got shot,
killed.
Yeah.
So he kind of has like a vendetta against Nika for surviving, and the mother for getting away almost. Like he's focusing on them.
So weird. It's such a weird point to
it's
this
movie. It's a retcon, but I like it because it kind of like gives a new angle for the movies to take.
We all of a sudden get like a surprise Jennifer Tilly in this movie, though.
Yes, at the very end, there's another scene where like the Chucky doll, after all this stuff has happened, in evidence, I think. It's taken from evidence, and it's being delivered. Again, another detective is like on the phone being like, you better have my money. It's like a callback to Bride of Chucky.
And she kills him
She kills him pretty much the exact same way. This time she's in his car, which, how did she do that? Scary to think about.
I'm going to check my backseat for Jennifer Tilly's from now on.
Right. Although I wouldn't be upset if I found a gender fertility. I don't know. Anyway, she kills him. She has the doll. She ends up shipping it to someone. We don't know who yet.
Yeah, this is a post credit scene.
Right. There's a lot of like endings to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the very last thing you see is the post-credit scene. Well, obviously that would be the last thing you see in the movie. But guess who's back? Back again. Alex Vincent's back. Tell a friend.
He gets shipped. He's an adult now.
He's an adult. He's like
same actor.
Same
like,
actor.
We're not kidding.
Alex Vincent. Andy Barclay.
It gets shipped this crate. And he puts it on the table and he's like rummaging through the rest of his mail. You see this knife like start to cut itself out of the box that it's in. Yeah. And then Chucky like comes out like he's Dracula coming out of the grave or whatever. And then all of a sudden you hear this and it's like Andy's right there. Gun. Oh yeah, holding a gun. He's like, I knew this day would come.
Yeah, he was ready for him.
And Chucky's just like, but Andy, boom!
Yes, it's so... Okay, this movie rules so hard. This movie is so good.
This is yeah.
I keep hitting this table. I'm sorry.
You should be.
You're
the one that gets so angry.
Well, I don't like when the tables hit, and I'm sorry. Okay. So then the movie...
Then we just jump 4 years.
Right. This movie was direct... The other movie was direct to video as well. Curse of Chucky, but Cult of Chucky was released like on Netflix. I think it was
something
almost
like that.
I think it was a Netflix original, or at least it was just released on it. Anyway, this movie takes place. It's again, all of these have been in the same continuity. Really,
right.
They haven't really like undone anything. Nika is back. She's
now in an insane asylum,
right? Because nobody believes they think that she's the one who killed all of her family member. Even now, she believes
it. We get the original courtroom scene that Don Mancini wanted from like for the second movie of like Chucky's like sitting as an evidence piece in the courtroom and she like is wheeled by him and she's like, you motherfucker, and she's just like yelling at this doll. She's like,
still alive.
I know it's you and I'm survived and all this other crap.
So I think that was the original reason that Andy's mother was not in the second one, was because like this scene was supposed to happen where she went to an insane asylum.
Right.
Where that still happened, but we didn't see the scene.
So there's that doll in the courtroom scene, but all of a sudden now we're jumping back to Alex Vincent at his apartment and he like opens up this safe and it's got Chucky's head in it.
This is the one that he shot.
Yeah, they just shot at the end of Curse of Chucky, and it's still talking, and he's like keeping a watchful eye on it.
I'm assuming that was the one that was in evidence lockup that was taken, and Jennifer Tilly got her hands on, and then mailed off.
But there's this other one that was in the courtroom scene, so we're already kind of like...
I think the courtroom scene... I think that was the same one. I think like it got taken from the house, put in evidence with all the, because there's like a row of evidence.
Okay, maybe.
And then that's the one the detective took.
I didn't see it that way. Anyway.
Okay. But then there's like another there's another one that shows up in the asylum. I think the doctor, the therapist who sucks in this movie.
Yeah.
He brings it out and he's like, I want to prove to you that Chucky's not a problem. And one of the patients, rather, who had murdered her own child, adopts it as like her own. It's very twisted.
Yeah.
But this one also is alive. Explain that.
Well, we find out that Chucky can like split his souls into different...
There are now the Cult of Chucky.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So now we have at least like 3.
Yeah, there's
plus
like a bunch...
head at Andy's house.
Right, and then Andy then produce it, like once he finds out that this is going on, he like finds out about Nika in the asylum, he like opens another, vault and pulls out another Chucky that's like fully intact but with short hair. And it's like, all right, I got this Chucky now. Where did he get it? How did he get it? Why did he get it? That was
when he was at military camp.
Do you think so?
Because that's why it's cut that way. That's why it has such short hair.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we find out later that he's hidden a gun in it, and he ends up mailing that to the thing to get a gun in there, which is clever. But
clever girl.
Clever girl. And then he goes to the asylum, and he gets like brought in through in prison. He like punches a guard.
Padded cell and all this other good stuff.
I gotta be honest, like his storyline is very sloppy in this movie because like what does he actually do?
They should have. Well, he's trying to stop the Chuckies.
Right.
He just doesn't get very far.
Right. I think
Chucky eventually transfers his soul. He does a successful transfer into.
This is awesome. Again, every one of these movies' endings, it's like Saw, where every ending to these movies is incredible to watch because he's trying to get after Nika. He transfers his soul into her. So, by the way, we didn't mention Nika is played by Fiona Dourif, who is Brad Dourif's daughter in real life. So, like, his daughter is playing his character because, like, Charles Lee Ray is now inhabiting the Nika character, who was paralyzed.
And now not.
And now because, well, okay, here's the thing. If Charles Lee Ray's soul can inhabit the body of a doll and have it move, presumably he can move inanimate objects.
Right.
That's, I guess, what we're going with. And so
that's what I believe it to
right.
be.
So her leg, she can't use her legs, her spine. I don't know exactly what's going on, but like she can't walk. And now
she can.
He can, right? Because it's Charles Lee Ray. I don't get it. I love it, but I don't get it. And then she's like, gets rescued by Jennifer Tilly. Again, the actor who is taken over by Tiffany's body. I mean, Tiffany's soul. I'm having a headache.
Right. We get some really good kills in this movie. There's this character named Multiple Malcolm who has like multiple personalities and all this stuff. He gets like a screw to the back of the head, which pops out the front.
And you see like his eye bulge out before. It's gross. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mention in Bride of Chucky, there's like the waterbed scene where like Tiffany breaks the mirror
above a waterbed and kills this two swinger couple or whatever.
And then in this movie, there's a callback where there's somebody who's sedated, she can't move, and Chucky throws something at the
glass.
There's like
window.
A glass window directly above
a skylight.
her. Sure.
Yeah.
Breaks, decapitates her, and then it's beautiful because like the snow is coming down, but only on the table that she was on.
Nika, when her soul is inhabited by Chucky, she ends up killing the doctor, who's been like secretly like almost like raping her,
right?
Which is kind of cool of Chucky that even Chucky hates rapists,
right?
He's like, you're an asshole.
I'm a serial
killer, and just stomps the hell out of
so
his face.
Good. It's so delicious. It's like, disgusting. It reminds me of Sartain, the doctor from Halloween 2018.
Dude, that was crazy.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Anyway, Kyle even shows up.
Yes, there's another like almost post-credit scene where because when Andy ran off to go to the asylum, he left like the shot head, which by the way is just the head. He's keeping it on like almost a stand. She shows up and is like, we're going to have a lot of fun together, and pulls out like a pair of pliers, implying she's going to like torture him or whatever. It's very funny. Yeah. What else happens in this movie? They drive away. This movie almost ends.
It like sets up for another one.
Right, because like the Andy Barclay storyline like just goes nowhere, and they ride off together. There's the head. So like there's all this stuff that's like it's not resolved. This movie is very frustrating because it's not resolved. And that seems to be where like the story has ended. Because there's a reboot. There's going to be a TV show.
And that's supposed to pick up where
that's supposed to be part of the original, like the main timeline, ignoring the reboot. And it's headed by Don Mancini, which I love. I cannot wait for.
Yes.
But then this reboot happened, which Don Mancini was not involved in this.
At all.
Right.
And it shows.
Yeah, it sucks. No, I don't think. I don't think. I don't think the movie sucks. I think like the fact of it sucks because he like almost didn't want this movie made.
Nobody did. Jennifer Tilly didn't want this made.
Right.
Yeah, there's a ton of people who were like, "No, this is not gonna be good."
Right, it has nothing to do with the originals.
Yeah, when I heard that this was gonna be remade, I was really excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Hence why I started watching.
And I was even
movies.
more excited because I follow Mark Hamill on Twitter.
Mark Hamill.
And he's like, I got some like really big news that I can't share yet.
Yeah.
And it just had like a room like with a fireplace, and all of a sudden you just see this like shadow of
I do
Chucky,
remember this, yeah.
like skitters across the back. And instantly I was like, oh my God. Do you remember me showing you that?
I do. Yeah. This was awesome.
But this is a completely different take.
I wish that this movie had not been called Child's Play and that he hadn't been called Chucky because
I don't think it would have worked though. I don't think people would have seen it.
Right. People shouldn't have seen it. It was completely okay. What makes Chucky Chucky? He's haunted by the soul of a serial killer. And I don't just mean mechanically, how does he work? I mean, like, why do people like this character? It's not that it's a doll that kills. It's because it's a haunted doll.
Right,
it has,
but now they flipped it on its ass and want it to just be a doll that kills.
It's more of a robot.
It's an android.
Yeah. An
AI.
Yeah, somebody has hacked into it to remove all of its safety protocols.
Yeah.
So now it's like just violent. Mm-hmm. And first of all, this doesn't make sense from like a technological perspective. I know that the original movies were full of voodoo witchcraft, but like this is not how this would work. Even if like you did remove all safety features, it wouldn't like learn to kill and like stalk people.
But it kind of does, because it like, knows how to stab.
I know.
It learns how to stab a knife and all
I
this.
just don't think this would happen.
We have some great things in this movie,
yes,
like
this movie,
Mark Hamill.
I'm
not really fond of his voice in this. It's not.
You couldn't tell that it's him. He doesn't really
right. I was expecting like Joker. I was expecting Charles Lee Ray.
Sure.
Via Mark Hamill.
Sure. Yeah.
We don't get that. You get just
this robotic voice. It's like, I'm your friend and I'm here to help, and that's basically all he does throughout the whole movie.
But the piece de resistance that we actually have in this movie, Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey! She's great. I love Aubrey Plaza. Right.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she does a great job in this movie.
She does. Everybody in this movie does a good job. That's the thing that's frustrating, is this movie isn't bad. It's just frustrating. And it's not a child. It just so doesn't even feel like a Child's Play movie to me.
I think we're going to have to disagree.
Really?
It's just a different interpretation of it.
Okay, sure.
I think it's just what some people thought that this movie was.
Okay.
And they just explored that.
Sure.
I think you have to have the Chucky name that goes along with it. Otherwise, you won't see it.
Right. Well,
it would basically just be like iRobot.
Okay. Another bad movie. So the whole thing about this movie is that this doll is given to Andy, who's aged up. He's like a teen. And he's not like super into this. It's called a buddy doll now.
Yeah,
right.
Right. But I
doll. And he's not super into it, but he's like, all right, I'll try it out.
Yeah,
and this
mom
thing
gets it, and it imprints on a child.
Right. And it's basically just like, I'll help you out. I'll do things for you. And he's like, all right, friggin' go. I hate my stepdad. Shane or whatever. Yeah.
Is that where we got the Shane
Probably,
from,
yeah. Sorry, Sean. And Chucky's like, all right, I'll kill him. And he's like, whoa, don't kill anyone. But then he does kill anyone. So like, he doesn't take instructions from the person that he's meant to take instructions from.
We get this really cute scene. It's like you can name your buddy doll,
right,
and he's like, I'm gonna name you Han Solo, and he's like, did you say Chucky?
That is funny. I do think that is funny.
I think that's really cute.
It's Han Solo, Mark Hamill.
I mean, because like really, I bet that just stuck in Mark Hamill's craw.
What's that?
Like they're like, of course you would pick Han Solo because
and not Luke Skywalker.
Everybody picks Han Solo.
Right.
All the ladies pick Han Solo.
All right, Joe, don't do this.
Pick Han Solo. Yet Luke's over here busting it.
That's right. He's hustling. He's working.
He's working on the light and the dark.
That's true.
Decide.
What are we talking about here?
Anyway, it's more interesting things than this movie.
Sure.
Eventually, all of the My Buddies or Buddy dolls like.
Right. There's like this. So the thing is, like, he can just hack into other electronic equipment, right? Yeah,
it's like part of your phone. It's part of your TV. It's part of.
So he hacks all of the other Buddy dolls to like also go on a killing spree, which is really funny because there's like these like bear dolls and like leprechaun dolls and everything, and they're all going after people. Eventually, Aubrey Plaza's character, his mother, gets kidnapped and like taken, and he has to go save her. This movie like damsels Aubrey Plaza and makes her like the damsel in distress
which
for
sucks.
Like her teenage son who has to go save her. Like movies are so intent on like having women be captured and having men save them that they'll have like a teenager have to go save his mother.
There's a ton of movies where moms go and capture their kids.
Okay, but more often than not.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway.
It just sucks that it's Aubrey Plaza because she's such a badass person.
She's cool.
She's 36 in this movie. I mean, she's 36 in real life.
Right.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But she is.
Right.
Which is just crazy to think about.
So... Yeah, eventually, like, they're saved. They all, like, kind of beat down on Chucky and, like, shoot him a bunch of times. Then there's a scene where everybody's, like, beating on the doll.
Yeah, there's crazy kills in here. There's, like, this, like, weird sicko guy who, like, puts up all these cameras in the apartment building. And Chucky stands up for these people.
Yeah.
Or he, like,
he's helping them out.
He's helping them out by killing these terrible, terrible people. Shane, Aubrey's boyfriend has a double life. He's married.
Yeah.
Chucky kills him. Kills this guy who put up all these creepy cameras.
Right.
Like,
the cat who was a cat and not a dog. First mistake.
You had cats growing up.
Yeah, and they weren't dogs.
Whatever.
Okay. So, Yeah, and that I mean, that's the movie, really. There's not, like, I don't remember if there's a stinger at the end. I think Chucky's body is thrown into a dumpster and the eyes might light up. I don't remember how this movie ends.
I don't remember.
But whatever. I think the movie's good.
It's all right. I never need to see it again.
Yeah, it's not very, like, special. There's some good stuff in it. I don't like the aesthetics of Chucky. I
know exactly what they were going for.
Yeah.
They're going for the larger eyes so that you have, like, sympathy for him, which is what we do with everything.
Right.
It is ingrained in female nature to not kill things with big eyes because our children, they have larger eyes.
All right.
Because when we're born, our eyes are the size that they're going to be.
Oh, yeah. They don't grow.
So like you grow. So, your children have large eyes. Like dogs have really big eyes. It's ingrained in us. So I know that's what they were going for when they designed this character. But I don't think it works because it's not human enough. And
like its mouth is so, like, bulgy, and, like, its cheeks and the way it moves.
Its forehead is big.
It's an ugly design. It's not even like, so the original one you could believe as
a Cabbage Patch. It's basically a Cabbage Patch.
It looks like it could be a real doll. Yeah. This thing is a nightmare. Nobody would buy it. Like, people would take one look at this and be like, redesign this. This is not going to work unless you were making it for a horror movie.
Exactly. We're so post Child's Play that nobody would ever actually buy this thing.
Then don't be remaking the first Child's Play if you're going to be post Child's Play.
Well, I don't know if it's in universe.
I know.
Anyway, let's get into some fun facts about these
movies.
Let's do it.
So that's all the movies so far. There's got to be a TV show. Hasn't come out yet.
Right. I'm basically going to focus on this first movie because that's when they created all of
This is where they came up with it,
with all this stuff. Going through the movie, we have 4, technically 5, like different
stages,
Chucky styles.
Which I did not notice this watching the movie.
You do not notice it.
There's like the doll, which is just
completely doll. Mouth doesn't hardly move. It has like one mech in it that kind of makes its.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play? That's it.
It's very doll-like, very cute.
Yep.
Quote unquote.
Right.
It's not very cute. Then there's one that's like, okay, it's got like a scowl.
Right.
And like its mouth moves a little bit more. It has teeth now.
Yeah, it's a little bit paler.
Yeah, and the eyes are a little bit more humanoid.
Right.
Then that next one, it's got like a full-blown snarl and like all this other stuff. The eyes are like blue dead eyes.
Yep.
Just terrifying. It is seriously is. Blue eyes just like strike right through your heart.
Right. Well, they're so piercing compared to other colors.
And then we have like
the fourth one, which is like animatronic. It moves all different things. It's got a widow's peak.
It's got screaming
the hair is pulled
and
back.
all this other cool stuff. And then we have the melted one at the end. That's like, I'm Chucky, you want to play?
Yeah. Great. Good impression.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing to me how many people it takes to move.
Right.
One doll.
Right. So the thing is, the way they did this, the way they pulled this off was Chucky was an animatronic. So like the entire time you're seeing it run around, well, maybe not some of the faster like running around. That was like a person in a suit.
A little person.
Right. But most of the time when it's like talking or doing all this stuff, it's an animatronic and it's like this puppeteered master creation. Like it is spectacular to watch.
It's got servos in the face.
Yeah.
You have to have one person operating the eyes and like which way they look. Then you have one person that moves the mouth.
Yeah.
And then you have one person that moves like the eyebrows and the cheeks that go along with it.
Right.
So
a lot of different.
In the face alone, you have 4 people who have to work together to make it look humanoid.
And then you have all the arm movements and stuff.
Insane to me. I've done a lot of research for Jim Henson's stuff.
Yeah.
And like it's the same way. They have one person that controls the eyes and one person that voices and moves the mouth.
Right.
And there's a million ways to do that, and they're all super fascinating. I encourage you to go and look at how they did this.
Yeah, the coordination it takes to pull this off was astounding.
Right.
And this was at a time where animatronics weren't really that common in movies. So this was like the first time that people were seeing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It must have been like, I can imagine seeing this movie in theaters for the first time and being like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah,
there's a doll running around.
Yeah, because then you have like, so you have 4 people on the face.
Yeah.
Or 3 or however many.
Right.
Then you have someone who's just working the legs.
Yeah.
This puppet's like on a rail.
Yeah.
It's got 500 feet of cable that it takes to move one Chucky doll.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
No, literally can't.
So like one person's walking it, the other person's turning its head, the other one's like moving its arms, like so many people to get like this one thing. And you hardly ever see the tracking in these movies, which is great. There's like one scene where he completely walks like from the door over to the bed and jumps on it.
Yeah.
Like, and you never see it.
It's awesome.
They also have another doll where it's just a half puppet, where it's like basically just puppeteering,
sure.
which is cool too.
Yeah. I mean, no, it is.
No, it is, because like let's employ some people in Hollywood. Let's not have the machines do everything.
Right.
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
And
then there's some scenes where it's just like we said, a person in a suit.
Yeah, which makes that like running around, climbing up stairs, jumping on things. It's gotta
right.
Cool.
Let's rank these movies.
Let's do it. I'm excited for this. You go first, please.
Me first.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, from worst to best.
Please. Yes.
Clever Girls ranking goes Child's Play 3.
At the
The
bottom.
Military.
Yep.
One, it's the worst.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to put Child's Play 2 as that next one.
Bold stance.
Yes. Then we're going Seed of Chucky.
Okay.
Then Child's Play 1. It's
Yeah.
original.
Mm-hmm.
I know, it sits right there in the middle for me for my list. Then I'm going to go with Curse of Chucky.
Mm.
Then Cult of Chucky.
Really?
Which, you know what? I'm going to switch those.
Okay.
No. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm going to stick with it. Curse and then Cult. Because I like Cult better than
I'm getting
Curse.
whiplash, Jed.
And then my favorite is Bride of Chucky, and it always will be.
Great, yeah.
Like,
awesome.
That's what Chucky looks like to me, and it's always accompanied by Bride of Chucky. Like, that's what it is. So that's my list.
Great. Well, I'm confused by some of it, but I understand some of it.
I just wonder if we'll fight like we do when we rank Star Wars movies.
No, I don't think so. We get into it in Star Wars movies because you have some weird ideas.
No, you have some weird ideas.
Do I?
We're not doing this now.
Let's get into it. Number 1. No. Okay, so I'll get my list. First, worst movie, Child's Play 3. This movie's just so boring. Okay, and then it gets weird for me because to me, and we were talking a little bit about this, we didn't specifically get into it, but to me, it's like the weird movies, and then the horror movies, and then Child's Play 3, which is a bad movie. So for me, it's just everything else is just kind of like separated into those. So trying to figure out which one I like the most. What I ended up deciding on is like 3 at the bottom. And then I very reluctantly put Seed of Chucky, which is a movie that I love.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought that would be higher on your list.
But I know that it's bad. So it's hard for me to like put it above any of the others. And honestly, I would have to say like Child's Play 2 and then Child's Play 1.
Yeah.
So the way this list works, it's not so much like worst to best, but rather like worst and then everything else is good. And so it's kind of just like how good are they compared to the others.
Right. What's more entertaining for you?
Right.
We come from a generation where we like it hard and we like it fast.
We do like it hard and we like it fast.
And those first two movies,
they're slow.
Burn.
They're slow. I talked before about how suspense doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
So those first 2 movies are all, or especially the first one is all suspense. It's just like, what's going to happen next? There's so many scenes of people like Maggie walking through the house. Like I think Chucky's or something's around
don't
here.
Don't even remind me.
But it doesn't do anything.
So
it does
scary.
nothing for me. So whatever. So 2 and then 1. I think the first one's just better. And then it would have to be, what do I have left? I would say Bride of Chucky, then Cult of Chucky, then Curse of Chucky is probably at the top.
Curse is your favorite?
I think that movie's really good because it's suspenseful and like steady, but it's
any
also
of the characters in it.
I think
except for Jennifer Tilly and Alex Vincent.
Yeah,
and that's
they're
Chucky.
not even really. Yeah.
I don't like any of the characters.
They're not likable characters, but I think they're like written in an entertaining way. I don't know. I think that movie is just really well made, and I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, I just like
Curse is the same. Cult
I like
is the same way.
multiple Malcolm, and I like the girl who's like babying Chucky, and I even like the doctor because he's at least a character worth watching. Yeah.
And I don't know where I would put the remake in my list.
Oh my god, I didn't even put the remake in my list.
Yeah, I think it's just so different that it's like it's hard to compare it.
It's not even worth. Yeah.
I guess I would honestly have to put it like maybe like between 2 and 1 in my list because just like it's there's enough about it is good that I want to put it high, but enough about it is just it just does not feel to me doesn't feel like Child's Play. I know that you feel different.
I'm not even going to put it on my list.
Okay.
It's a different
Yeah,
movie.
it's so different that I don't want to. Yeah. Okay, good.
Here's my list.
Ranking's done. Good. I like them. I like all these movies. Even the third one at least has Chucky in it. So
right.
Cool.
Let's get into what makes this scary.
Let's talk about it. So I have some notes, not nearly as many as about zombies, but so like I talked about, consumerism and voodoo, these are things that are like similar to zombies. Also, I talked about the uncanny valley in the last episode. And this is also another case of the uncanny valley where you take something that is, not human, but very, very close to human. And there's like something about it that just makes the brain go, I don't like this. I don't want this in my life. I want it. I reject it. And so there's like a scary thing there. What makes it scary? There's, I think the biggest reason that like dolls are creepy, the reason that like we see a doll and we're like, I don't like this. This freaks me out. Is there's a corruption of innocence. I think we've talked about this on a previous episode, but I can't remember which one. Essentially, it's the idea of like something that is supposed to be childlike, something that is supposed to be happy and fun and light, and you give it a little twist and make it sinister in some way. You could have a serial killer, right? Like,
I think it was when we were talking about it, maybe.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, so you take something that's supposed to be happy and fun. What I was saying, you have a serial killer, right? And that's scary. People are like, oh, I don't want to be killed by a serial killer. But if you have that serial killer disguised as something happy and fun and light, that becomes like so unsettling and creepy to us.
Yeah, your mind doesn't know how to like...
Right, because you're like,
I'm
very
looking juxtaposed like these two views of this thing.
Right, exactly. You're looking at a clown, you're looking at a doll. These are things that bring joy to people.
Right.
But this one has a knife and I don't know what to do with that information. So it really sets the mind just on edge because, you just have these two dissonant ideas. Dissonance is a lot of like what makes, I think, Chucky scary. Each individual movie does different stuff. The first one has the idea like you might be blamed for something you didn't do. There's a lot of like frustration there if you put yourself in the Andy character. Where, like his parents are like, why did you do this? And he's like, I didn't. I'm telling you what happened and you're not believing me. Yeah. And your parents are supposed to be the ones that you trust or that you like go to and they're like not believing you. That's terrible. Yeah. And I think I had one more note. Oh, right. Okay. Last thing I'll say on the subject. There's this video by a YouTuber named Thaf9, I believe is what it's called. And he talks a lot about video games, specifically horror video games. And he released a video a couple months ago about fourth wall breaking in games and how, like, what makes them creepy and why that's unsettling. And I think it's actually, a lot of it applies to Chucky and haunted dolls in general. Because with a fourth wall break, you're watching a movie or you're playing a game and you think you're alone. You think that you're by yourself watching
You're already
this game.
scaring
I
me.
know. It's called What Makes It Scary. I have to get into this. And suddenly, the game or the movie, whatever, like turns to you and acknowledges you as the observer. Right. And now suddenly you're like, oh, this is an entity that has intelligence that is like responding to me. Even when it's not supposed to be scary, it kind of is a little creepy. The movie Deadpool, I was a little scared to go into the movie Deadpool when I first watched that. Because Deadpool is a self-aware character. He breaks the fourth wall. Okay. And there was a little thing in my mind that was like, he's going to like point at me and like talk to me and I'm not ready for that.
That's so weird. Dan Avedon from Game Grumps has that same thing. He's like I'm terrified.
Yes.
Absolutely terrified when I watch porn.
Yes. Which is not a normal reaction.
Because I'm so scared that the actors will just stop and like look right at me.
Yeah.
And can you imagine?
Right. That would be freaky. I mean, I'm already terrified of porn because like it's sex. I don't understand. It's scary to me. But aside from that, yeah, that would be freaky. It's the exact same thing with like a doll that's like, hey, this is a thing. It's an object. It's not sentient.
Right. And then all of a
suddenly it is. And like you're just like, oh, now I'm dealing with something. What makes it scary?
The inspiration for Chucky came from the story of Robert the Doll.
Robert the Doll. This is pretty famous, I think. I've definitely heard about this before.
I have too. It takes place like over 100 years ago.
It's like New England, so very old-timey. I think it's New England. It feels like New England.
Right. We have this kid. His name was Robert Eugene Otto. And his family, I believe they lived on a plantation, and they had servants.
They owned
slaves.
slaves. Yeah, they were slave owners. So maybe this took place in the South. I'm not sure.
Maybe. His mother, was famous for treating the servants like absolute shit.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for these people.
Yeah. She would say that they practiced like dark magic and would witness them doing this type of thing. Anyway, one of the servant workers gave this doll to he went by Eugene. His name's Robert Eugene, but he went by Eugene. So he
decided to name the doll
Robert.
Yes,
because that's his other name.
Right.
Oh, this takes place in Key West, Florida.
Oh, great, Florida. Yeah. Right. Okay, so the South.
Yeah, and so he gets this doll, and I think it's completely normal when kids have dolls to sit at the table with me, eat this, leave it. It's almost like that imaginary friend.
Right, you pretend it's a friend who you're hanging out with.
Right,
yeah.
But then the family starts hearing this other voice, when they're in the other room and Eugene's talking and they're hearing this other voice that's can't be from this little kid.
Right.
And all this other spooky stuff. The doll's been known to thrash stuff across the room, and the kid's on the other side, and he's like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff, and just he went insane, just all this other stuff. Go and look it up. It's really creepy stuff. This doll is now at a museum.
Yes, and they say,
I don't know why people do this.
They say that if you provoke,
if you go and you provoke, or you go and you're oh, you're just a stupid doll.
I think if you take pictures and stuff.
A lot of people have gotten in car accidents on the way home.
And I haven't done research into this. I'm a hardcore skeptic when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Listen, you're gonna get that doll so sicked on us.
Maybe not. Let's not upload this part of the episode. But yeah, so this doll is a thing. Very similar story is Annabelle, which The Conjuring, Annabelle the movie is based off of this quote unquote real story of the Warrens doing finding this doll which is haunted. Very similar thing where if you provoke it or whatever, you get into car accidents. We've heard the same thing from multiple sources.
Yeah. Anyway.
So haunted dolls are a thing.
Don't push them.
Also, Goosebumps, The Living Dummy.
Yes.
Night of the Living Dummy. Night of the Living Dummy. Night of the Living Dead. Wow. Okay. Cool.
Ding.
Ding.
Then there's a Twilight episode about the dummy and just all this other...
There's been movies about dolls and dummies. People have been scared of inanimate objects that look human for Tourist Trap is a movie with mannequins.
Yeah.
Similar thing.
Or dolls. There's a movie
there's a movie dolls, yeah.
Yeah. All this.
So when I talk about what makes it scary, all of those things apply to yeah. All right.
Yeah. That's been this week's episode.
Hey, you know what? I like the Child's Play movies. I had a lot of fun with them. I really liked watching them. So this was a good episode. I liked it.
Did. If you'd like to listen to us next week, we are going to be talking about the Final Destination series.
Stay safe out there, everybody. Talk about inanimate objects killing you.
Absolutely.
I love the connecting
rule
themes
that we're going with here. Yeah, totally planned out that way. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at CleverGirl, the letter F and the letter X.
I'm on Twitter as well at Mr. Red, spelled out the long way, 2342. That's at Mr. Red 2342.
If you'd like to listen to our non-seasonal podcast that isn't currently running because of COVID,
COVID!
You can follow us on Twitter at Peeps and Q's. You can find that podcast wherever you're finding this one.
Right. And if you want to follow this show on Twitter,
you can go to @Makes It Scary.
You didn't, by the way, listener, she didn't steal that plug from me. She literally has it on her phone, and I was just setting it up for her. So
yes.
It was just us bouncing off each other.
Yep. So that's it.
Great.
If you'd like to tweet at us your favorite Chucky movie.
Yeah, the order that you'd rank them, your favorite kill, your favorite moment, anything. Literally anything.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
We like hearing from you.
Yeah, it's fun.
If you have any questions coming up for Final Destination.
Yeah, sure.
Things that maybe we won't think of.
Right.
Let us know.
What's your favorite Final Destination movie?
Yeah, anything like that.
Cool. All right.
Listen and rate and share.
Yes,
and,
please rate and review on iTunes.
And
it's very
dule, dable, hale, bule, lele.
Whoa, what are you saying?
I'm putting a curse on the audience so they'll listen.
End the episode, I beg of you.
Nice.